I know that you and Randy were working really closely on horde pathing, etc. Um, something about nodes and maps, and I don't know. It's all technical mumbo jumbo. So, if you could let people know what that all was about.
So basically, when Trumbull Valley launched, all of the pathfinding for finding ways from one side of the map to the other was highly detailed and a little bit crowded compared to how other maps worked. This mostly didn't have any impact because Hordes didn't move around much on the maps. But now that Hordes move around to settle new infestations and to reinforce and to launch sieges, things like that, where the pathfinding was inconsistent, can seriously mess up the ability of the player to have a good experience in the game. So Randy and I went in, mostly him honestly, and poked at specific trouble spots with the Trumbull Valley pathfinding, trying to make sure that the Hordes could get from anywhere on the map to at the least the proximity perimeter of the base. Lots of bugs came up about that. I think they're mostly resolved. It's probably not perfect, but
yeah, there's and especially in Trumbull Valley, like being able to see where the path led to. There are a bunch of folks out there that have seen this. We tried to fix a lot of those issues by doing a full refactor of the nodes and how the Hordes path. What were some of the other solutions that you implemented?
I gave the AI for zombies in Hordes a few different backup strategies to get around bad pathfinding. I adjusted how it switches between long distance and local pathfinding a little bit so that it can hopefully navigate the same way in local and long distance pathfinding if nothing else is causing it concerns. And I gave it a few different ways of wiggling its location to get itself out of a stuck area.
Oops.
But ultimately, a lot of this has just come down to how the macro level paths are built. And that wasn't something that could be done in code.
And if we take a close look at the map, I guess I could be doing this too. There might actually be some Hordes that are wandering around, but maybe not, considering I just killed a whole infestation or two right before we started.
One thing worth noting on that map is that the layout of where infestations spawn is one of the things we looked at the most closely. We tried to make it so that infestations will not spread out across the entire map so much. They will target where your base is and move towards that more consistently and directly so that you don't have to go on cleanup detail nearly as often. That, along with withering mechanics, should make it so that infestations as a mechanic are a lot less frustrating to deal with over time.
Maybe I missed it, but what's the... did you already explain withering mechanics?
Yeah, withering is that if an infestation's parent plague heart is destroyed, then that infestation will stop growing and will grow in reverse until it gets to a size of 0 and disappears. Right. So if you get a plague heart that has a lot of infestations coming off it, you can clear a large area of the map very fast. But the downside of that is you have to get to the plague heart through a lot of infestation territory.
If I kill this wakened plague heart, and these will all wither, right? Like you can see. Oh, never mind. That infestation comes from that heart way down there. So this heart created this infestation. This infestation goes to this heart. And this infestation also goes to this heart. So by killing this heart, that would cause these two infestations to wither, but it would also wake this one up. And so probably my best bet here is to kill the sleeping plague heart before I kill the waking plague heart and make these wither. And with some of these changes to infestations and infestation loot, we're hoping that will get used to living with infestation. Huh?
Where does that move from old live version to this update when it goes live? Your maps should be roughly compatible, and any old infestations should wither away and then be replaced when you engage with the new features.
Yeah. Now, I know that you and Jeff had worked to make it so that the away from base consequences didn't trigger as often for sieges, because you can intercept them here as a solution, but on the previous PTR, doing it that way often led to away from base consequences that were unintentional, because you were technically taking part in the siege, but it was still counting against you. And so I know that you and Jeff took some steps to make sure that that got solved, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
So, last PTR push, last beta, contribution to a siege was measured by whether you were in the area of the siege,
If, I believed in that stuff.
as opposed to measuring whether you actually killed anything. So now, it just checks if you killed things. It's relatively simple conceptually, but did take a little bit of code finagling for a couple different background reasons.
Yeah. Only siege sites, that's correct, Mark. Only siege sites affect your morale. You can have as many infestations as you want, but until you get these happy little siege sites, your people know enough that they know that they're not under real threat. So it doesn't really bother them. When this starts to go up, this starts to go down. Now, one of the things that I was really happy about, since we're talking about hordes, pathing, and all that kind of stuff, but you really wanted to talk about like the changes that have been made to horde spawning. And also one of the things that I noted is that in addition to horde spawning, can you talk about how we cleaned up infestation spawning?
I mean, the main thing was just making sure that the spawn pools make sense. A lot of the things that we put in kind of last minute before the last PTR, like the many pharaohs, were based on essentially first round build outs of what is supposed to go in a horde at each difficulty and what is supposed to go in an infestation at each difficulty. Mm-hmm. So we had the time to do a full pass, taking into account everyone's feedback from the first round and a lot of playtesting to make sure that the stuff that spawns in hordes and infestations is mostly what you'd expect. And then
one of the things that I've noted and that I really want to call out here is just that a lot of infestations, I don't know if this is going to work out real well, but we'll see. A lot of infestations will spawn in long before you get there. One of the things that we've had for a long time. Now you'll notice how far away I am when that actually like just spawned in, right? Like the bloater's already gone, so he's probably dropped his loot. It's not worth much because it was only a severity 1. But the infestation started and I was much further away than I have been in previous iterations. So I thought that was super helpful as well. I don't know if that was something that... I know it's something that we have changed since the last time we even had a PTR, but...
Yeah. Indoor spawning got a little bit of an upgrade in terms of how far away it can happen. And that is Eric's doing, actually. Some deep physics system finagling to get that working, and it should work on both infestations and other indoor spawn locations, and should give you a little bit more runway for dealing with things without getting up close and personal with a juggernaut.